Welcome to the Spelling Bee Ninja podcast. Join us as we embark on a journey through the fascinating world of philosophy. If you're eager to explore the intricate ideas that shape our understanding of right and wrong, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe for free educational content that sparks curiosity and fosters community. Now, settle in as we dive into today's topic, deontology, the morality anchored in duty and principles. Today, we will take a deep dive into deontology, an ethical theory that evaluates the morality of actions based on adherence to rules or duties rather than focusing solely on the consequences of those actions. At its core, deontology suggests that some actions are inherently right or wrong, and this classification exists independently of the results those actions might produce. The term deontology derives from the Greek word deon, which means duty. This means that, unlike consequentialist theories, where the end justifies the means, deontologists believe doing the right thing must stem from a sense of moral obligation. One of the most prominent figures in deontological ethics is the philosopher Immanuel Kant. Born in 1724, Kant argued famously for a moral law that is universal and unchanging, regardless of situational outcomes. His approach centers around the idea of the categorical imperative. This categorical imperative functions as a guideline for moral action applicable to all rational beings. To illustrate this, Kant made a crucial distinction between what he called hypothetical imperatives, actions dictated by goals or desires, and categorical imperatives, which command moral behavior regardless of personal inclination. For instance, if someone considers lying to achieve a certain goal, they should stop and reflect, asking themselves if they would want lying to become a universal law. If lying were to be universalized, trust would erode, rendering societal interactions problematic. Kant's first formulation of this imperative states, act only according to that maxim whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. This means you should only act in ways you would want to be universal, applying to everyone. It directly engages with our understanding of morality, as it requires critical reflection and consistency in our actions. The second formulation, known as the formula of humanity, demands that we treat individuals not merely as means to an end but as ends in themselves. Every person possesses inherent value and rights due to their capacity for rational thought and autonomy. This principle is fundamental to contemporary human rights philosophy, emphasizing that everyone deserves respect and dignity. For example, if one were to deceive someone for personal gain, it undermines that person's autonomy, treating them as a tool for achieving individual wants. Kant also introduced a third formulation referred to as the kingdom of ends. Imagine a society where everyone acts following these universal moral laws and respects one another as ends in themselves. In such a kingdom, individuals would not only abide by the moral laws but, as rational beings, would participate in creating them. This ideal community represents Kant's vision of mutual respect and cooperation among rational individuals. However, it's essential to understand that this kingdom of ends is not a reality but an aspirational concept meant to encourage moral behavior. One critical area of contention within deontology is the distinction between acting from duty versus acting from inclination. When one acts from duty, they do what is morally required out of respect for the moral law, uninfluenced by personal desires or emotions. Conversely, acting from inclination means taking action based upon inclination, essentially doing what feels right personally. According to Kant, only actions stemming from duty possess true moral worth. If a person helps someone solely out of fondness, Kant argues that this action lacks moral value. Meanwhile, if that same person helps because it is their duty, despite personal feelings, the action is deemed genuinely moral. Addressing the complexities of this ethical framework, let's consider one significant challenge deontology faces: conflicting duties. Picture a situation where your obligation to tell the truth clashes with your duty to protect someone from harm. How do you navigate such dilemmas? Some critics suggest ranking duties, assigning higher importance to specific duties over others, while Kant maintained that duties are absolute and must not be violated, acknowledging the tension yet refusing to provide a definitive resolution. A classic example illustrating this ethical tension is often referred to as the murderer at the door scenario. In this example, you are confronted with a murderer seeking a friend hiding in your home. Should you protect your friend by lying, or do you adhere strictly to truthfulness? Kant's firm stance suggests that one must always tell the truth, as lying is morally wrong, regardless of the circumstances. Critics argue this position seems impractical in life-threatening scenarios. Despite the contention, others maintain that you can opt for silence or a misleading statement that doesn't constitute a direct lie, thus adhering to moral principles pragmatically. The foundation of Kant's ethics gains additional depth through his view of human dignity rooted in rational autonomy. Humans, unlike animals, can discern goals and devise laws for themselves, equipping them with a unique dignity that must be respected. This perspective not only influences ethical debates but also permeates discussions surrounding human rights, as Kant's principles provide a rationale against practices like slavery and torture, which undermines individual dignity and autonomy. Nevertheless, deontology faces criticisms on several fronts. Detractors argue that it overlooks the consequences of actions, potentially leading to decisions that appear absurd or harmful in specific contexts. Moreover, critics point out its rigidity, suggesting that a lack of flexibility might not serve our moral intuitions well in complex scenarios. Others contend that the concept of duty can feel overly abstract, making it challenging to apply in tangible circumstances. For instance, utilitarians, who emphasize outcomes, strongly critique deontological ethics for seeming fundamentally flawed when ignoring real-world repercussions. Despite its challenges, deontology's legacy in philosophy and ethics remains significant, guiding discussions around human rights and legal frameworks. Core principles centered on duty and dignity remind society of moral absolutes that dictate certain actions, like lying or stealing, are inherently wrong, regardless of potential benefits. In fact, the foundation of human rights declarations echoes deontological ideas, seeking to establish that specific rights should not be violated, even for the sake of a greater good. Kant's rigorous exploration of morality continues to shape our understanding of ethical behavior and human dignity, forming a backdrop in modern philosophical debates far beyond his era. Today, we explored deontology, a philosophy centered on duty and moral principles. We discussed Immanuel Kant's contributions to ethics, particularly the concept of the categorical imperative, which guides moral actions based on universalizable maxims. We examined the importance of treating people with inherent dignity and the challenges posed by conflicting moral duties. Furthermore, we confronted real-world dilemmas, such as the murderer at the door scenario, that question our adherence to truthfulness versus loyalty. Kant's ethical framework not only influences philosophical discourse but also shapes our understanding of human rights and moral legality. These ideas endure, urging us to consider our duties and moral responsibilities seriously. Thank you for joining us today on this exploration of deontology and the powerful ideas of Immanuel Kant. Hopefully, this discussion helps you appreciate the importance of moral principles and the responsibilities that come with ethical decision-making. To continue this journey through the fascinating realms of philosophy, don't forget to subscribe to the Spelling Bee Ninja podcast for more enlightening content. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember the profound impact of your choices.